nueva cerveza. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night. It's the Idle Zone Syndicate. And I don't know about you guys. I'm tired of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
and yes, and you don't even know yet.
Yes.
It got to 24 here today.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
We started our day with freezing fog, and we've ended our day with freezing fog and freezing drizzle overnight tonight. Yay!
We must be just on the line or something below it.
We are, John. It's nice.
Yeah, because it's got like 50 today here.
Luckily, I think for both of us, that I-44 corridor that Doug Hetty talks about is just a little to the north of us. So thank goodness.
Yeah, because when I left Parsons yesterday, about 5:30, it was 72, and then I got home 45.
It did get chilly here today in southeast Kansas, but not as miserable as that, DB or Crank.
Yeah. That's
Sorry, guys.
The older I get, the worse the cold feels, and I'm a dude that just likes to wear no pants most of the time. So and by that I mean shorts. But,
yeah.
Oh well, enough bitching about that. We have a pretty cool guest tonight, I think.
Yeah. Kyle, you said you got some stats, but you said they were all screwed up. I was trying to look myself, and
Well, I'll tell you,
nothing has changed since I was at Bassmaster, where you cannot find anything on the freaking website. And I used to work there and couldn't find it on the website.
Yes.
I was trying to find his Rookie of the Year season to see and I never did find that. I did find the other stats that I think you found. Maybe, I don't know. I might have found stuff you didn't find. What you got on this guy?
well, I mean, we're fixing to talk to a hammer. That's all there is to it, and it's going to be an exciting time. So, 3-time Elite Series champion, 4-time MPFL champion. When it comes to jerkbait, bass are terrified, absolutely terrified. What he did on fork was amazing. He's cashed 73 out of 87 times in the money in bass. From Summerville, South Carolina, Mr. Patrick Walters.
How about it, guys?
Hey, Patrick.
What's happening?
Welcome.
Man, I got a question for you guys.
Wow.
I'm gonna start. I'll right off the get go.
Okay, go for it.
The Idle Zone Syndicate. I love the name. Like it gets your attention. But what is the meaning behind it? Are we like in favor for idle zones? Like it's like, you know what, we should idle around the whole lake, or it's like, you know what, we don't like idle zones. Like we're gonna blow by these babies. Are we like, is this the bad boys, or is this like we should put more idle zones up?
I think if you ask each of us, it'd be different. Like
Danny looks like he likes idle zones.
It may be I may be the one that likes to blow through the idle zone.
I did not predict that, John. I did not see that coming.
Just because,
And who likes idling these days?
But
As long as you can say.
I think the and you can correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but it's kind of when you're idling through the idle zone, that's when you're talking with your buddies about fishing,
Yeah.
about where the next spot is, about that guy that just cut you off or whatever. You're just having a conversation. So that's us. We're the, you
I
know,
like
when life slows down a little bit and we just like to sit on the back of a tailgate and have a beer and have some
Roll Tide.
conversation. That's us.
I like it. That's why the name was pretty cool. That's why I was
Yeah.
just curious where it came from.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I guess that's where it came from. Am I wrong?
Absolutely.
I mean, we just kind of threw stuff at the wall, and that's what stuck. So
That's pretty accurate. That's in fact, that's how we do the entire show.
yeah, pretty much.
I was going to second and third that. I think I'm said something about the idle zone, and you two said something about Syndicate afterwards, and it just all kind of flew together at one time. So we are,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's been fun.
Heck yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. How many guests have y'all had so far?
You know,
Oh my!
we should have been counting.
I'll count real quick.
Okay, but so
A few.
I heard on Mercer. So Mercer had on Palaniuk and Kyle.
Yep.
This week, and Mercer said that the average. I don't know whether this is true, factual, or this is just Mercer blowing smoke, which is entirely possible. He said that the average podcast lasts 7 weeks.
7 weeks, really?
Yeah. That people do it, and because Palaniuk started his like 2 years ago, and they've done like 8 episodes in 2 years.
That's my kind of spacage right there. I like that.
they're trying to redo it.
If I was doing it, it would be about that much usage. It'd be like, all right, hey,
So-
we'd hit it hard.
So
About
we
2 weeks.
we are actually doing pretty darn good because we've been doing it for how long, Danny?
Gosh, did we start like right around the 1st of May?
Good.
I
Was
think
it in
so.
there somewhere last year?
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
about right. Yep.
So 8-ish months.
And we haven't missed a week except for a couple in between Christmas and New Year's.
Well,
Yeah.
that's understandable.
So
That time of year.
We're actually doing pretty good, I think, and we've had a guest almost every week.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we've had 20. You are number 20
Heck yeah.
touring pros, as well as like our state biologist, some other local guys and local pros. So, we're actually in the probably 25, 26
Heck yeah.
range for guests. So
Now,
Y'all don't
we
have a
haven't-
hard time getting guests on, do you? That's what I always wondered about a podcast, like reaching out to people if you had a hard time, like, because I mean, y'all got to be getting low if y'all get down to me.
So,
Yeah.
no,
I was just like,
no, we. I mean, my time at Bats has helped us out a
Good.
lot with guys, and well, we've had some guys on that weren't at Bass when I was there. So it hasn't been real difficult yet, but the what I call big guests like yourself, the elite, the top level pro anglers have been real accommodating during the off season.
Good.
So we'll see. The season's getting ready to kick off, really in full swing. I'm sure our guest list will slow down, but I mean, we have been. I've been in talks with Al at MPFL
Good.
and the guy at MLF. I don't really know him. I don't remember his name, but anyway, they all been very great about guys that we want to have on, getting us their numbers, trying to get it all lined up, and we try to line it up 3 or 4 weeks out, and it's been pretty successful so far. So we're
And then, when you guys get to swinging heavy in the regular season, Pat, I mean, we got a bunch of local hammers to catch up with too now and then.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like you were just talking about, y'all have a BFL this weekend. Get the
Mhm.
winner of the BFL.
Yeah.
I mean, do they still do co-anglers on the BFL?
Yeah.
they do.
I mean, you could get the co-angler too and just get a different take of it,
Yeah.
or you could split the
absolutely.
show in half and half. Because I don't know how long this podcast is, but typically the duration's an hour. Some people might not want to talk that long. You could get the pro for one side, and then they get the co-angler, and get both sides of the story.
Yeah.
An
Yeah.
hour is about half of this normal podcast.
Oh, now it's like we're just slowly gonna ease you into that. We actually didn't tell you how long it was gonna be. We're just
You let us know if you have to go, but typically we just start talking and we look up and it's been 2 hours. It's kind of how we just
Well, we have a tendency to burn the pro out in less than about an hour and 15, hour and 20.
yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna have to go get another drink.
You might have to. You might have to. So let's get right into it. So your first Elite Series event was 2019,
Yes, sir.
and I believe it was a very successful finish, was it not?
It was a very good finish. It was to be honest though, it was the tournament Bassmaster Elite Series needed. It was the tournament of all tournaments. That was right after the split. That was right after everybody went to MLF. So there was so much turmoil. I mean, people were like, "Oh, what even's going on in bass fishing?" And I feel like the last couple of years, that's how everything's been. It's
Mhm.
been too much up and down, so much change. And that year after that turmoil, I mean, it wasn't many of us. I think it was, I don't know what the field was. I want to say 76, but I could be lying on that. I could be off by 5 or 6 people. But we cracked them that year. It was at St. John's. Right out of Palatka, Florida in 2019 in February. And it was like every single fish swam to the bank that day, that tournament. It was,
Mhm.
I mean, practice was tough. Nobody was hardly catching them. And then tournament time came and it was lights out. I think I ended up finishing 4th in that tournament.
You did.
Caught it like something 90 something pounds. And what's crazy is St. John's River is actually a pretty tough fishery. I fished a couple bass college tournaments there, and typically 12 pounds was always pretty good there. That first day, I caught a couple bedfish. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go to my main area. And one came up blowing up, caught it on a frog. I ended up catching 13 and a half pounds, I think it was that first day. And I was like, dang, this is pretty good. I left them biting. I said, I'm going to go find some new fish. I caught 13 pounds that first day. And I don't know how much I lost by. I think it was like 4 pounds or something like that.
Mhm.
The next day I went in there, I caught 26. Third day I went in there, I caught 32.15. And then I went back the fourth day and the storm kicked up and I think I caught like 21. But yeah, when I got back and I had 13 pounds and everybody started catching them, I was like, okay, we're going to need to hit them a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But you don't know what to expect in your first tournament. I mean, you just, especially when you're a rookie, you don't know. I mean, they're the best in the world, but you don't know where you stand. So you just don't know how hard to lean on them. I mean, because you're like, it's a 4-day tournament. I've never fished 4 days. I had fished 3 days. And you're thinking in your mind you got to save fish for 4 days, but you just got to fish every single day. You just got to find them new.
Did you how did you finish in Rookie of the Year? Did you win that?
I did not. I actually was leading Rookie of the Year and Angler of the Year halfway through the season. This is actually going to be a funny story. It was probably after 6 tournaments or 5 tournaments. I was leading AOY and ROY. And you want to know what happened? I put
Yes.
forward-facing sonar on my boat. I bought a Garmin halfway through my Elite Series rookie year. Had never had it. Didn't have it my rookie year. I didn't qualify with it. Put it on my rookie year halfway through the season. Tanked. I bombed. I bombed the rest of the season because I was trying to learn the technology because I was so good and I wasn't good with it yet. I didn't know what it was. You're trying to learn it. You're seeing so much fish. You're wasting so much time. And I completely bombed. I think I ended up finishing 16th or 17th in AOY that year and came in second in ROY to Drew Cook. And he's one of my best friends. I talk to him every day. I talk to him probably more than I talk to my wife. And we talk every day, probably an hour, 2 hours on the phone. And that's one of his favorite things. He said, I got one thing Patrick Walters will never have, and that's an
Yeah.
ROY trophy. He holds it over my head every time we're hanging out and there's a group of us and we're over there, shooting the bull. He brings it up every time.
So how did you, when did you realize or develop the dream of being a professional angler? Or do you remember your first like tournament or your first fish or the first time you thought, man, I want to do this for a living?
I can remember the first bass I caught was I was a young kid. I mean, I don't know how old I was, 6 or 8 maybe, maybe 10. I grew up saltwater fishing with my dad. We offshore fished and inshore fish, and if we ever fished freshwater, I mean, we were country. We redbreast fish. I mean, we would. It's a beetle spin with a cricket on it. That's all we did was we'd catch shell crackers and stuff like that. And I was at my cousin's house, and I caught one. He had a pond in his backyard, and there's a little green thing. And I asked him, I said, "What is this?" I had no idea what it was. It was the most different thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I remember it to this day. And that's when I started getting curious. But I fished my first bass tournament actually with Bradford Beavers. I was in 7th grade. It was a Fisher's Legacy tournament, and I can still remember that blast off. It was a little 17-foot Stratus with an Evinrude motor and an Evinrude trolling motor on that thing, and we fished at Lake Murray. Um, and from that first tournament, that blast off, I was hooked. I mean, it was just, you always, I mean, growing up being an American, you love sports. I mean, you love a little bit of competition. We're not all super, super competitive, but it's like you love that competitiveness to it. And then it was like, I always grew up hunting and stuff like that. So it was being able to be outdoors. You didn't have an office, you weren't constrained by anything. And like having that competition side of it too, we fished that tournament. We caught some bass. Um, I can remember Bradford caught a big one on a spinnerbait by a pine tree in that tournament. I got home that day and I told Dad, I said, we got to get into bass fishing. Like I said, Dad, I don't care. Like this was awesome. Like I'm telling you, it was like the most amazing thing. And I cannot thank my dad enough. I tell him every day I love him, and every time I get on the phone, I love him because he believed in it and he was like, let's do it. We actually fished our first bass tournament out of a Hughes flats boat. I mean, we were saltwater fishermen, but he took the time. And all the dads out there that take their kids fishing, thank you, because who knows what it'll lead to. Because I was just a kid who wanted to fish. And then I got serious about fishing probably in 10th grade, my sophomore year of high school. I was playing football and baseball, and Dad always told me, I don't know if we can say bad words on this show, but he
Go
said,
ahead.
you could do a lot of things half-ass, or you could do some things really good. So it's like you got to start picking your priorities. And so he's like, you could play baseball and fish, but you ain't gonna be good at either of them. And I ain't that athletic. I mean, I went to a private school, so I had a spot on the team, but I wasn't going anywhere for college. So I quit baseball my sophomore year of high school. And at private school, that was like a big deal because it was like, I mean, they're in a lot of warm bodies.
Uh-huh.
And then it like blew my baseball coach's mind. He was like, "What are you doing?" I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna bass fish. Like, that's what I want to do." And from there on, it's been hell bent.
Can you put your finger on it? What particular thing in that first day, was it how you finished, or that you were just out of the money and it gave you that fire to want to do it more? What can you put your finger on it? What?
I really don't know. I don't know if we got a check or not. I'll call Bradford after we get done with this because I'm curious. He's probably not going to answer. He hardly ever answers. But I don't know if we got a check or not. I think we did okay. But it was just I don't know. It was the competitiveness of it. It was the blast off. It was a boat race. It's early in the morning. It's the camaraderie. It's the group of guys. It's just like the Idle Zone Syndicate. Everybody out there is like-minded people. They're
Mhm.
all people that would have your back. If you had a flat tire on the side of the road, they'd pull over and help you. So it was all like people that cared for you. It was a Fishers of Men tournament, which is it's a church service
Yep.
kind of. So there was always a fellowship there. Just the whole thing of it, and then just being able to fish and then bring back, and then you get to bring your fish back too. It was just that competitiveness of it.
It is very hard to put your finger on it.
It
Like
is.
I have never been and never will be the angler that you are, or I've won my share of club derbies and little 10 boat things, but even those little tournaments like that to this day, when especially like if I got somebody in the boat that's never fished a tournament, and I'm just like, oh man, this is the best part right here. You know, the sun's coming up, the anticipation of whether the fish are going to bite or not. And you know where to go. With me, it's where to go because I never know where to go.
Well, nobody
I
knows where to go. That's
flip
what's
a
so fun
coin.
about it.
Do I go left? Do I go right? And I always choose wrong. So, you know, that's kind of me. But it's very hard to put your finger on it. And like you said, it lasts the whole day. There's different. You know, when you walking up to get the bag, do you need a bag or do you not need a bag? You know, it's just
It's when you're idling in,
yeah,
in the no wake zone, and you're thinking like, what are you gonna say to him when you get there? Like
yeah,
you got him, and you're just like, yeah, I got him. Or like, heck no, like I'm going to the house. It's like no matter what, whether you catch him or you don't, there's
yeah,
always a smile to be had.
yeah.
That's
Or
just yeah. If you go to bed thinking about it, you dream about it, and you wake up still thinking about it, it eats you
yeah,
up.
and that's like you said, we're all like-minded, even though there's so many different levels to it, from high school to club to all the way up to the elite series. It's still the same feeling. You
It
have the
is.
same feeling that I have.
It's the same passion. It's all there.
Yeah, that's cool. So, college. How important was college in your career?
I thought college was a great step for my career. I really think it helped me because, you know, growing up fishing high school, won some stuff, like you said, some local club stuff, some stuff on the home pond. Um, didn't slam it, but it was still just like you thought you knew what you were doing. And that's the one thing about bass fishing. Every single one of us thinks we know it all at all times. You're like, yeah, I know what they're doing. Oh, like I'm gonna catch them on this. And so coming out of high school, I was like, man, I want to go. I want to be a professional. I'm gonna go straight to the pros because you could go straight and qualify and do it if you had the time and the money. And I was like, I want to try it. Um, and somebody talked to me one time, and I was asking him what he thought about it. And it was somebody I looked up to in the fishing industry, and he'd fished semi-professional and stuff before, and he was like, you know, take your time. Don't be in a hurry. He said, learn as much as you can. He said, you're never going to stop learning. But he said, go to college. And that's mainly what my mom wanted to do. She wanted me to go to college. So it made my mom happy too. But go to college and learn. That's the biggest thing, and you do learn at a much cheaper rate. There's college tournaments don't have an entry fee. A lot of times the schools help you, and you're in a club, so you're around like 30 different guys. So you get to talk, you get to hang out, and you get to learn. Everybody's kind of home technique. But being able to fish college for 4 years, travel around the country, fish, FLW, Bassmaster College tournaments. You got to fish with different partners, and I don't care who you fish with. You can learn something from everybody. I don't care what their skill level is. I don't care if they're 65. I don't care if they're 5 years old. Everybody sees it in a different perspective, in a different eye. So when I fished in college, each one of my partners would have a different home pond. Like I used to think you couldn't catch bass deeper than 15 foot of water. Like I thought if they swam deeper than that, they just died. Like because I mean, growing up on Santee Cooper, it was 5 foot and less. You didn't have to fish that deep. I don't care what time of year it was. And then I fished with my buddy Hampton in college, and he was from Hartwell, and he was like, "Man, we're gonna catch him in 40 feet today." I was like, I don't have that much string. Like I'm fishing with rope back here. Like I don't have that much. I was like, they don't. 20 is way too deep. He's like, 20 feet is literally the length of the boat just standing up. And
Yeah,
like we're both standing in the boat, and it's like, oh, that's really not that deep. It's like you could swim that almost. So it's like once you kind of see a perspective from different people, it's crazy. I would say college was very, very influential in my success today.
yeah. I think my first recollection of Patrick Walters was at Winyah Bay.
Yep,
I believe you won. Did you win that one?
we did. That was a great tournament, actually. Sometimes you get lucky too. Uh, that was, I guess, we were probably one of the local teams. Coastal Carolina would have been real local. We were at South Carolina. Um, Man, I was just gonna catch them flipping wood on cut down banks, and they came up schooling in the middle of the river the first day of the tournament, and I was like, "Oh, those are mullet, those shad are running. It's cold," and another one blew up, and I had nothing in the boat. I had a floating worm tied on, And I heard two of them pop, and I was like, okay, those are bass. Threw a floating worm out there, and he stripped it, and I was like, those are bass. Like, here we go.
Look at that.
And that was that's a 7-pounder I caught on the third day. Caught it on a jerkbait. I didn't have any jerkbaits. I didn't have any top waters in the boat. We caught, I think, 12 or 13 pounds. I don't know what it was the first day. I think it was like 13. And I was like, okay, when we get back to the house, back to the camper, I was like, we got to change all our tackle up. And it was actually a sand drop out in the middle of the river. And it was gangbusters. I'm telling you right now, Georgetown, Winyah Bay didn't have a tackle store. We went to Walmart, and I think I bought like a Strike King popper, a sexy dog, and like a little zebra. Like, it was like we were on limited tackle. Like, it was true college kids. And then every day it just got better and better. And then I finally got my jerk baits, and we caught 20 pounds the last day, and I caught that big one to seal the deal. That was a crazy tournament.
You know what's great about that picture? There was a woman in that bottom corner, and her mouth was wide open. Then there was a younger boy right above her, and his mouth was wide open. I think you just shocked him with the size of that bass.
It was crazy. I mean, that whole tournament, because it was that. I don't know if we got big bass. I think we did. Somebody else caught a good one, but it was just. I mean, I still remember every single day of that tournament. I knew we were going to win that tournament that final day too, because the boat was running good. I don't know if y'all's boat talks to y'all, like, but you got to listen.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to listen to everything in fishing. I can talk for forever, but the fish will tell you what they want. You just have to listen. But your boat will tell you too. That first day it ran like 71. I was like, okay, boat's screaming. But we had current, so it was like going fast. The second day it ran like 73. And I was like, oh, we're picking up steam. And the final day it ran like 75, 76, and we passed everybody. And I was like, she's screaming. And when your boat runs good, you're just like, I mean, it gives you chills. Like, you just let it go. Like, she's gonna take the wheel. Just go.
None of us know that feeling.
God,
70
I'm telling you.
of 73. I'm lucky
That
if
was-
if I get 68 out of mine.
That was
lucky.
with heavy current and 2 graphs back then, both dash mounted. So we carried a lot less tackle back in the day. Yeah, now with 5 graphs or everything, we're running some sails.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That next two in front. I work on outboards now in my spare time. I used to do it as a regular basis, but if you were to say that it picked up speed the next day, I'd tell you that it was probably on its verge of blowing up because
Hey, you know what's crazy?
That time,
I think that boat did blow up. I lent it to a buddy in a college national championship. I'm gonna go back and look at the dates. I swear to you, I think that motor did blow up.
Yeah, when they get that loose, when they start getting looser and looser, it's over, baby.
Real, it ran good those days though, man. I got the life out of it. But I gave it to a buddy and lent it to him tournament. I think that motor did blow up. Now that you say that, dang. Hindsight, something else in it. Yeah, good thing there wasn't a 4th day.
Yeah.
I thought it was the tide. I was like, man, the tide's screaming.
I think
So what is your off season like now? And I guess what was it like after the first season, or maybe the season right before your first season? And what's it like now that you've learned? You've been around a while. You're a veteran. You know.
John, that's a good question. I can promise you it has changed dramatically. In college and fishing the opens and right before I made the Elite Series, it was fishing 24/7, 365. I fished in September. I fished in October. I fished in December. My favorite month to bass fish is December usually because it's cold. Nobody's out there. The fish still bite. And that's down south. I'm in South Carolina. So the water doesn't get too cold. And I fished all the time. And then as this, that my first year, I was still kind of fishing a bunch now. And as you start fishing and you start doing it full time, and when it becomes your job and how you make a living, and you kind of traveled a bunch and you've kind of fished a bunch of the lakes, my fishing during the off season has dwindled. I got on Santee Cooper last week for the first time in like 6 months, and I'm 1 street back. I'm a minute from the boat landing. My off season is hunting. Something's got to die. I'm deer hunting. I'm duck hunting. I'm traveling. Only time I fun fished this off season was my buddy Justin Kimmel drug me down to Mexico. And that was the only time I was like, I guess I'll go fishing. We'll go to Mexico. And we cracked them. But now once you kind of do it for a living, it's just you kind of, I feel like you need that little escape, just kind of that
Mhm.
mental reset, because I have a hyperfixation, I guess you could call it. Like when I get hooked on something, it's just, like I said, I live and breathe it. Like I can't stop thinking about it. And so that's how bass fishing is. It's just doing it for so many years, for 365 days, it kind of burns you out. So having that offset, doing a bunch of deer hunting, kind of going back to before I started fishing professionally, some duck hunting, and then when season kicks up, it's time to, you got that fresh mindset where you're itching to get back out there.
And what about like sponsorships? And are you at a place in your life where they're not changing too much, where you've kind of, I mean, those sponsors of yours, they should be pretty happy because
Am I
you,
getting bad Wi-Fi,
no, you're
or is that
good.
John? Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Did I lose you guys?
Can you hear me, Dan?
You're
I
all
can hear you.
Well, I can hear you. Can you hear
You're
us?
bouncing a little bit.
I got you now. Yeah, you broke up there for a
Okay.
minute.
Can you hear us?
I got you
We're
now.
good?
I got you, John.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So your sponsors, are they, do you feel pretty secure in your sponsors? I mean, they should be happy. You started your career with the 16th in AOI, and then the next 4 years, you never finished lower than 5th in AOI. And then last year, you dropped way down there to 12th
I know.
in,
Last year was terrible.
in AOI. So, no worse than 16th in AOI your whole career. So how's your sponsorship?
Thank you.
Really, man, that's outstanding. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's
Pretty
been really
secure.
good. The security's there now. And the thing is, I don't like change. I don't want to. Every sponsor I have, I've had the beginning basically. I've only had like 2 sponsorship changes, maybe 3 since the beginning, since my first season. And that's the thing is you start working with people that you really like, that you can sit down and have a conversation with, like you guys, and then it's not so professional. And that way it's like you get to know their family, you get to know the other side of it, and those are the kind of sponsors that I like. The only thing I would say is changing a little bit is just probably due to the economy. But my sponsors, everybody's been consistent. They've grown consistently. The last like year, they've kind of leveled a little bit. And I think that's just due. We had a kind of off year in tackle sales and stuff like that. I think that was due to an election year. People were saying forward facing sonar, all that stuff, but it goes back and forth. There was just a lot going on in the last year or so economically. So everybody's very stable though. I'm happy with them. There's always room to grow. I don't have a truck wrap right now, so if anybody's listening,
Hmm.
I mean, hey, Lake Lodge. I mean,
Well,
we can put it on the side of the truck. We can do it. There's space.
well, I would love to do that, but I need to take a paycheck. Well, I haven't had a paycheck in like 3 years. So, I mean, we're paying the bills, we're keeping the place running and open, and I'm eating well, as you can tell, but don't have near the income to sponsor Patrick Walters.
It'd surprise you.
It
It might be a couple free stays. You never know.
okay. I can do that. I can do that. Anyway, so when did you get your first win? Was that the first year? Was it in your first year? Or was it the
No,
second
sir.
year?
I had 2 open wins, and then my first Elite Series win was
2020.
it
Right.
would have been my second year then.
Yeah, second
sir.
year. And where was that? Where'd you win that?
Lake Fork.
Oh yeah.
That was a good tournament. That was
Was that the Century Belt tournament?
It was. That was my first entry belt.
104 pounds, second place, Texas professional Keith Combs at 75. So, Patrick,
Oh, yeah.
you won with 104 pounds, and you beat the field by 29. You didn't
That was a
even
good
have to
tournament.
go out the last day.
Yeah, but it's Lake Fork though. I mean, like 35, 40-pound bags live there. So it's like I was honestly nervous the last day that I was like, I don't know if I was going to get it done, because it's like Lee Livesey was behind me, Keith Combs, and those guys, they know how to catch big bags. So
Jay Yellis
old
was,
Jay, yep, Jay was there.
top 5.
He caught him on a spinnerbait up that left arm. I remember that now, in the
Woo.
dirt.
That would have been
But it
fun.
was in the fall. That was the year COVID happened, and that was the only tournament I was like, man, I'm on them. Like I felt pretty good about it. Like 6 hours into practice, I called Daiwa and I said I'm gonna need some more rods. Like I think I'm gonna catch them. But I was only catching 3-pounders because it was in the fall. It was tough fishing. We really weren't catching that many fish. And I called my wife after the first day of practice. We still had 2 days of practice. I said, honey, I feel pretty good about it. I said, I can catch 3-pounders at will. Like, it's the only time I've ever been able to, like, man, it's not hard. But they were only 3-pounders. I caught my biggest fishing practice was I caught a 5-pounder. And I was like, okay, I'll catch some mixed ones, big ones mixed in. And I thought I was going to go out there and catch like 17 pounds a day and be in contention. But right before the tournament started, I think the water fell like a half a foot or something. It's like they all turned to 5-pounders. I mean, every single one of them. It was like if you set the hook, and we did some setting the hook that week. They were all grown ones. It was just kind of like the stars aligned. It was weird. We caught a lot of big fish that week. It was good.
Patrick, I'm sure you've heard this from guys talking, but I've heard a lot of comments from guys after this tournament say this is when it opened their eyes to the power of forward-facing sonar. Can you just kind of elaborate, on that? I mean, I know that it wasn't necessarily that much of a secret, but
no, it had been out for a while. You're right. I mean, because that was 2020. When did it come out? 2016, 2017?
Yeah,
maybe Panoptics and stuff. No, it was not a secret. And that's why I think it had just taken so long to learn it. That's why, like that first year, my rookie year, I bombed with it. I put it on my boat and did terrible. But I knew what the power of it could do, and it just took that long to learn it. But I think it showed how effective it was because of how tough that tournament was. Guys weren't catching limits. I mean, we're talking about the best guys in the world bass fishing.
yeah.
And people couldn't catch 5 fish, and I'm back there just throwing them back. But it allowed you to see what the fish were doing, where are they at exactly, and what bait presentation do you need, what kind of mood are they in. I promise you right now, I could throw 25 different baits at them. I threw every bait I had. It could be any soft plastic, a swim bait that's 3 inches, or a swim bait that's 10 inches. It could be a crank, they wouldn't touch it. It had to be a jerk bait. It had to trigger their reaction. They didn't want to eat, but you could talk them into it. And that's kind of what it showed you. It just showed you that the fish are there, how to find them, and just how to trigger them to bite.
And just, obviously you had success with it prior to that tournament, I'm assuming. So can you talk about, you weren't just twitch pause. I mean, it wasn't like you're just cast it out, and it wasn't just like a twitch pause retrieve. I mean, you were working it through trees and all kinds of stuff. Can you kind of just elaborate on that just a little bit?
See, that's the one thing. There's no one cadence in a jerkbait. There's no twitch pause, like you said. Each fish is different, and sometimes it depends on the body of water, the mood they're in that day. Sometimes it's consistent, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's 60-second pauses. But then they were in timber, they were in real forky trees and stuff like that, and they were sitting up under those limbs or on top of them, just kind of getting shade. They weren't on the straight pole timber. It had to be real branchy, and then I'd have to worm that jerkbait through there. I'd have to get their attention, and a lot of times I'd have to almost hit them. To get them to move off. They weren't coming out. It was kind of, I think we were really close to a turnover, so the water was kind of crappy conditions. They weren't seeing super far, so you almost had to hit them and like push them off the tree. They would scatter like freaking hornets. And then when you broke them up, it was, I mean, they'd start dancing on it, and then I'm gonna talk them into it. I'm gonna work it however. I know it sounds weird, but it's like however they're doing it. Like I'm not gonna pause it, and he's
cat and mouse
lost interest. It's a cat and mouse. I mean, so I'm gonna play with him, and then you'd get him to bite. I mean, sometimes it would just I'd have to reel it away real quick, and he'd chase it, and then I'd jerk it one time and pause, and then he would just collide with it. They were kind of virgin then. It was they hadn't seen that too much. Those were the good days. I mean, that wasn't that long ago, but they have seen a lot of jerk baits since then. You have to do a lot of different stuff now, different baits, different lines, all that stuff. But yeah, they did bite it back then good.
It was cool to watch. I mean, it was the first time that I was like, I guess I'll put him on my fantasy fishing. I'm not gonna lie,
I appreciate it. Hope I don't let you down. I've been known to do it.
Do you have a uh, favorite setup, like the rod length, line size, uh, reel? What's your what's your go? If you could just have one setup, what would it be?
I just created well, I created it probably 2 years ago now. There's a Daiwa 610 jerkbait rod. It's a medium. It's more. It's like I think it might even say medium light, but actually just a medium. It's a medium. I like a stiffer rod. It's a graphite rod, 610. That way, like if I'm in the John boat too, I like a 7 foot, but I throw a 610 most of the time. That way, if I'm really depends on the height of your boat too, like how high your deck is. If your rod tip's going to hit the water, and I'm a tall guy, and it'll still if you're in a lower boat. So that's why I went with a 610 medium action 14-pound fluorocarbon line, 8-to-1 gear ratio reel. I like a faster reel. I want to throw it out there because a lot of times if I don't get his attention, I'm just going to reel it in and make another cast. I don't like that's the one thing with forward facing sonar is you can be as efficient as possible. Um, if I don't have get their attention, if the cast was bad, I can tell if your bait's fouled up. If I'm too far to left or whatnot, I'll just reel it in and make another cast. And I just got it where like my twitch down where it's I'm bringing the right amount of line in. So that's the thing is get you a one reel that you like. I'd go with a 7-to-1 or an 8-to-1. I prefer an 8 and stick to it. That way you kind of get your cadence down, even if it's with a walking topwater. That way you're always pulling the same amount of line in. Um, and jerk baits they're tools is how I look at them. All baits are. One jerk bait could be a 10 millimeter wrench. One could be a 3/16 socket. I mean, each one is completely different. We have a pair of vice grips. You got your Old Faithful that works about anywhere, but each bait does something a little bit different, and so that's why you can't suggest one bait. You really just have to build some confidence in them. But I like bigger line. I jerk mostly on 14 to 20-pound fluorocarbon line. Every now and then I'll go down, but I prefer to go higher because I want to hook them and reel them in. I think you can hoss fish more than people think, especially in colder weather, and they got tough mouths.
Wow. I'm actually really surprised at that. I would assume that in the colder weather that you would, obviously go down in size, but you're saying 14 is more than likely your lowest.
14 is my starting point. If it's like Grand last year and stuff, I was jerking on 12. Like if I'm throwing a 110 plus one, it will be on 12s and stuff. I'm trying to get a little bit deeper. I've gone to 10. I do not like 10. I go to 12 every now and then, but I typically go up before I go down.
Yeah.
And so each bait, I'd rather throw a deeper diving bait just on bigger line. Is kind of how I look at it. Unless it's super, super clear water and they're pressured, then you have to adjust it accordingly.
Yeah. Good stuff.
If on the forward facing sonar, since we're kind of on that right now, I think we're all trying to learn it. At least I am.
You'll never stop learning it. I learn something new every day.
Yeah. So is there a tip or something that you see the average Joe doing that or not doing that they should be doing that will help? Like, one of the best tips that I've was given a while back that I didn't even think about is, you got to keep the trolling motor pointed. You got to stay on that. You can't take your foot off of it. You got to stay on it.
100%.
When
Because
the boat is
you
drifting.
have it pointed to the fish exactly, but your boat's drifting. You're drifting. The wind's blowing you. That fish is still swimming. So that's the thing. It's like you always have to be on that trolling motor pointing at it. That's why a lot of people suggest like they act like the turret locker and stuff like that. And that might the turret to the side of the trolling motor. Some people really like that, but I don't. I want it on the trolling motor. That way I'm controlling the boat. I can back up. I can go forward. I can go to the side, and I can still follow my bait the entire time. So that's a great tip, John. That's one of the best ones. Is keep your foot on the trolling motor so you can always watch your bait, and that way you can still control your boat. Boat control is a big thing with forward facing sonar, and I think that's where a lot of people mess up. But the number one tip I can give you is keep your depth and your range as consistent as possible. I run my range 90% of the time at 100 feet. If I'm way up north or whatnot, I'm looking for bait, I'll go to 120. If I'm at Florida and I'm in 3 feet, I might go to 80 or 90. But typically, day in and day out, it's 100 feet. That's what it's at. And my depth is at 20 feet. if I will go deeper, I'll go to 25 or 30, but I'll never go shallower than 15 feet. If I'm super shallow, I'll go to 15, but I'll never go shallower because you start stretching your screen. It starts stretching the image and then it doesn't look proportionate. But if you leave your depth and your range as consistent as possible, everything will always look the same. That's why when you hear people talk about it, like that's a 3-pounder, and the guy casts over there and it's a 3-pounder, and you're like, dang, how did he know that? Like he's good at reading his graph. Well, if you stretch it to, you bring it into 20 feet range and it's only 10 foot deep. I mean, that thing would take up half the screen, a 3-pounder would. But if you have it consistent, you'll get your eyes dialed in, you'll get used to it. So don't be messing with your range and your depth so much. So make sure you cut it off of auto, put it on manual, and you'll get acclimated to the screen.
Patrick, do you think there's any merit to what you just said, like in depth about keeping your foot on the trolling motor? I fished with a lot of guys that they'll put the trolling motor on like screaming high, and they're on and off of it, on and off of it, on and off of it. Are you one of those guys that like majority of the time leaves their trolling motor on like say 3 or 4, and you're on it constantly, or is there like a happy medium there?
There's a happy medium. I keep it on probably about 6 to 7, and I keep it on constant though. I wear a trolling motor out. I don't care how good they make them. I wear it out in about 5 months. Because if you keep it on 7 power, it's too much torque. I just got my new boat and I went fishing the other day, and I forgot how quiet those trolling motors were. Like I didn't realize they were that quiet because the one I've been fishing in, I already wore it out. So I do like being consistent. I don't want to keep it on 10 because then you lose control of the boat, and then if you sneak up on a fish and you turn backwards, you're going to blow too much backwash, and then he's going to hear you. So I think you need to be as quiet as possible, effective, and a constant noise isn't as bad as as sporadic noise. Because I don't know about y'all, I don't know if y'all deer hunt, but I don't care how good you are, you can't walk up on a deer. You can't sneak up on one. He's going to hear you coming. But I don't know if y'all have gotten e-bikes lately. Those are the freaking deal. He doesn't care. You can roll right by him on a bicycle. If you stop though and look at him, he's going to run off. But if you just keep on trucking, it's consistent. So just learning stuff in nature too. It just kind of helps you. But if it's a consistent noise, you're fine.
Well, it's like, you drive down a gravel road and you say, hey, there's a nice big deer over there, and you're looking at them, and then you find this clearing and you stop and you roll the window down, and the next thing you know, they're flipping their tails up and what's going on, and you may be, 300 or 400 yards away and they're still doing that. So,
but you could have sped down that dirt road and it would not have mattered.
Yeah.
So what do you do on like a point where you found a school of fish or 3 or 4 fish that you think are fish? You're like me, you don't know they're fish because you're not that good, but
they're definitely fish though. You just don't know what kind of fish.
Yeah, that too. So, and you roll up on them. How do you keep from like blowing over them or just how do you work the trolling motor when you're not on constant? I guess my question is.
Yep, I would always approach downwind if I'm fishing a good spot like a brush pile, a point, or down current. That way I don't wash up on them. Like you said, because I'd always like to cast at them if I know they're there before I even see them on the graph. Excuse me. I want to cast at them before I even see them on the screen almost, because the further you get your bait out there to them, the better chance of you getting a bite because they don't know you're there. And so what I'll do is I'll make a far cast, and then if I catch one, I can get off the trolling motor and fight the fish, but I can land this fish and I'm not going to be on top of them. If I approach up, upwind and I'll drift right over top of them, and then I've ruined the whole spot. So I would kind of take your time that way. And then also don't get too close. See how the fish are reacting, see if they're interested in you. But if you pull up and you don't get one to bite and you're like, man, there's fish swimming everywhere, throw a couple different baits at them. And then if they're starting to follow your stuff and you got their attention, you're like, okay, they're interested. I just hadn't figured it out yet. And you say you got too close, then it's like, okay, those are bass. They were pretty interested in my bait. I just might not have the right approach. I'll leave. Because if you brought them off of the dinner table, that's their feed spot. They feed usually all in the same spot. that's where they're comfortable. That's their little house, and once they leave there, they're not comfortable. They're just curious. They're going to come check you out. I mean, they'll swim for a mile, but when they get back on that spot, they'll eat. So I'll leave, and I'll let them set back up. I'll go fish something else. I'll fish another point or something, and I'll come right back to it with a different bait or something I thought was going to trigger those fish, or a different angle. And that's the thing is, with forward facing sonar, it's taught us that fish are everywhere. They're on every single spot we thought like that we thought was good. Because back in the day, if you'd fish 3 spots, you have 3 of your favorite points. You know, you'd pull up, fish it, and not catch anything. Pull up on the second, and you're like, man, I know they're here. They're always here. You know, you go to the next one, don't catch anything. It's like, oh man, they're just not here yet. And you pull up the third one, and they're biting, and you're like, oh, they're all on this point. This is where they're at. Well, it turns out they've been on all 3 of them. They're just biting on the third one. So it's whether it's a time of day, whether it's current, whether it's sunlight. That's what the one thing about fishing that we love so much is. There's just so many variables to it, and you don't know what they all are. So just they're always biting somewhere. Just go find the biting ones. That's the thing. So just if they don't set up, just come back to them.
Nice. Good. Couple questions on before we get off the jerk bait from our viewers. Daniel is asking what your favorite knot is for a jerk bait.
I tie a 3-tag knot now. I don't know what it's called. It might be the San Diego Jam. I have no idea what it is. I used to tie a Palomar exclusively, but I've gotten away from that. You loop your line, stick it through your bait. I wrap it 5 times, and then stick it back through the bottom hole, and then lick it. And it's got 3 tags. I have no idea what it's called. Swindle might tie it, maybe. That's somebody else's.
I think he does. I think Swindle does.
There's a couple different ones. Like one of them, the 2 tags come out the top. Some people really like that. This one, the 2 tags come out the bottom, and the single tag comes out the top. I don't know what it is, but it's a 3 tag in. No.
Let's just go with San Diego Jam.
We'll go San Diego Jam.
Sounds good. And
Sounds correct.
And Dennis wants to know your favorite color of jerk bait.
Nobody needs a favorite color. Colors are made to by fishermen. I use 3 different shades, basically. Is all you need. You need a shiny one, you need an opaque one, like a white one, and then a clear one, like a ghost minnow, something transparent. It's all you need. I don't care. It could be any in those bases, but no matter where you go in the country, you just need 3 shades. If it's in Florida, you might need a tin of gold to a little bit of shiny, but it's going to be a shiny one, an opaque one, and then a clear one, transparent. That's all you need.
Keep it simple, stupid.
100%. Yeah. That's what it is. I mean, fish are smart. They will do whatever they can to survive, but it's like the same mousetrap will catch them. It's all in how you hold your mouth.
Richard Fitzwater says, except on jigs.
Jigs are a little more peculiar, though. I will say sometimes. I try not to get fancy.
Richard makes jigs and sells jigs, so you need all kind of different colors.
They do look at jigs a little bit longer.
Yeah. Before we get into the minnows, what about the glide baits? We had a question on glide baits. Are you big into glide baits now? And
I love glide bait fishing.
What's your favorite glide bait and the setup?
The glide baits are, I think, a fantastic bait. Like I said, baits are tools. I'm not going to go to a mechanic shop and tell them how to fix my car with a thing of duct tape and a hammer. You know, I'm not going to go beat a dead horse. So it's like fishing professionally, you need all the tools that can help you in your arsenal to catch fish. And I love glide baits. I throw them a bunch. I fun fish with them. I'll throw them in tournaments when the time is right. I throw them in practice more than I do in the tournament for pure, fish finders. They have serious drawing power, and that's what I love about glide baits more. It'll show you every single fish that lives under a dock, whether he's on a tree, if they're on a point. It'll really help you show, if you pull up on a point, whether those are bass or not. Because if you throw it out there, they're going to come look. That's what I like about it. It's got draw power. I might come back and I'm probably going to catch them on a Carolina rig. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I don't have to throw in the tournament if I don't think the conditions are right. Yeah, it's cool to catch them on it, but I use it more for straight draw power, just to see, what the fish are. But if you go to a place like Fork and they're schooling on gizzard shad, That's when I'm gonna throw it. I've caught them at fork there doing it before when it was I couldn't catch them on a jerk bait, couldn't catch them on a fluke. They would eat a glide bait though because I was matching the hatch. So there's a time and a place for it. My favorite right now, I would say is probably Clutch Swim Baits makes it. It's the Darter. Shout out to Kimmel. It's a smaller glide bait. I really like the Boss, the big one, for sinking it to brush, but the Darter is hands down. It's a fish catcher. Like I mean, I've caught 2-pound spots on it. I've caught 7-pound largemouth on it. It just gets a lot of bites, and it's a great herring bait. So like when we go to Lake Murray and stuff like that, it really gets a good bite when a lot of people aren't throwing it at that time. So I do like glide baits. I think it's a great bait.
That sounds like I think Travis said this earlier on the side here. That sounds like a good truck wrap company, Clutch.
You know it. Drop the clutch on them.
Mm-hmm.
I just came up with that. I'm actually gonna have to text one about that one. That's a good one. Yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. All right, let's talk about the minnow a little bit. What is your favorite setup on a minnow, and do you use different sizes? I've heard we've had guests on that talk about they use different sizes, and I just was talking to a guy that fishes here on Grand Lake. That's a stick on Grand Lake, and he throws nothing but a 3/4 ounce head.
Damn. That's stout.
Nothing. And I tried it the other day, and I don't know how he does it.
Yeah,
Like
he might have been a quarter. He might have said, I have 3/4 tied on.
He picked it out and handed it to me and put it in my hand.
That's stout. He's catching aggressive bass. Like he's catching, you just have to get it to him.
I think that's all he's fishing for, but I'm like,
it makes sense.
I don't, I got one spinning rod in my boat. That's it. So
get you a couple of them.
By the time I throw out and click the bail, that 3/4 ouncer is on the bottom.
In 90 feet.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm like, this isn't working.
No, there's this I've definitely dove into this a lot in the last 2 years, the minnow deal. It's a great technique. And what's weird is we were doing this growing up saltwater fishing. We would throw a fluke on a jig head or a grub and we would just bounce it off the bottom. I have no idea why it took so long for it to shine as well as it has until forward facing sonar came out. That is a whole technique within itself. I'd say I start out with a 1/4 ounce jig head most consistently, like no matter where I'm going, a 1/4 ounce tungsten jig head. VMC makes a new one. It's a great jig head, 3/0 hook. I throw a 5-inch wing fluke on there. I started out with a 5-inch bait. That's a great midline, 1/4 ounce, 5-inch bait. Like if before you get to a fishery, you don't need to have 7 minnows tied on. I've had 6 minnows tied on before in a tournament because, like, if you're catching them real quick, but if the fish are super aggressive, if they're super deep, and they're swimming real fast, and all you have to do is get it in front of them. Like if they see your bait, they'll bite it. Like Smith Lake sometimes in spotted bass up north, smallmouth. I'll go heavier. I'll go to a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce is when I go up. And then once I see like them spit some bait up or I find the baits, kind of when I start matching the hatch, whether I have to go smaller or bigger. 5 inches the staple. That's what it works anywhere in the country. The lighter the head you go, the more bites you will get, guaranteed. The lighter is better. 3/16 and 1/8 ounce. You just have to be more patient and you have to be more accurate. Because you can fish your bait more effectively, you get better roll and everything to it. So the lighter you go, the more effective you'll be. But if they're really chomping, then it's like you can get away with heavier, you can get more cast in a day. But I start out with a 1/4 and then go from there.
Sweet.
Patrick, can you help us with the name of the jig head?
It is a VMC tungsten ball head. You know what? I got a tab pulled up right here. I'll tell you.
Moon Eye?
Nope. It's the new tungsten swim bait jig head is what it's called. Let me I'll pull a picture up of it for you. It's
okay.
What you want is you want a 90-degree line tie and you want most of the weight forward in the jig head. You don't really want too much of a weight down the collar because then it's going to affect your roll. It'll be more stable. Stable's good, but not stable. That stable. Let me see if I can pull a picture of this real quick.
I've thrown the Moon Eyes quite a bit, but
the Moon Eye's good. The hooks, not strong enough.
Right.
You got to hit them.
Yeah. And I'm not seeing what you're talking about on Rapala's website.
Yep, they're brand new. That's probably why it's I got them last year and I really switched to it. I've sold the Gamakatsu one a good bit. Decoy makes a good one, but I've switched to this one and I've been very happy with it.
Do you like tungsten because of the being a harder metal? You can see a little bit better return on your forward.
I have no idea.
Don't think
I just
so?
like maybe that's a picture. Oh, it would go. It would swipe away.
Okay.
See how the weight's all in the head?
Yeah.
The plastic bait keeper is actually plastic, so it doesn't have any weight to it.
Cool.
And they make it in a 1/0, 2/0, and 3/0. I really like them to make it in a 4/0. That way it'd be a little bit stronger.
What's it called?
It's the VMC. VMC makes it. It's the tungsten swim bait jig head.
Well, maybe I just need to look in a better spot.
And then what's your setup? Rod, reel, line for the most part. Are you braid to fluorocarbon or
100% braided fluorocarbon. I throw a shorter rod. I throw a 610 the most. My favorite rod's a 6.5. It's actually Koya Fujita's rod. I had to get it from Japan, but it's an expensive rod and I only got one of them. That's my favorite one. It's a 6.5, but the one I throw the most is a 610 medium light. It's got a lot of tip to it and a lot of load. I throw 6-pound Suffix 832 braid to a short leader. You don't really want a long leader. I'll throw like a 2-foot to a 3-foot leader. Does not need to be much. Typically probably 12-pound fluorocarbon. I've gone to 16 before. I used to throw lighter than that. I don't. I mean, 12 pounds like the lightest I throw. They're looking at that bait. They're not looking at your line. So don't worry about line size. Short leader, that way you can really control it. And then when he bites it, hit him with the screws. I mean, but that's why I like that rod, because it loads. And by the time it loads, I mean, he's roofed. He's not going to miss it. So that's why when he gets it, I mean, you go ahead and bring that sucker in.
so why the 610? Why the 6-pound braid?
Cast better. I can cast further with it. Sinks a little bit faster. Doesn't have the water drag. I used to throw like 15 and stuff, and then we went to St. Lawrence my first year, and I learned that when I was dropping straight down in like 35 foot of water, the wind, the how much it would bow. It's not a wind bow because it's in the water. I call it a wind bow.
Current?
The current would stretch it out, and I couldn't feel my bait as good. And then the next year I went to 10, and that helped a bunch. And then the following year I went to 6. But the 6-pound 832 is a lot bigger line than other Japanese line. Like some Japanese 6-pound braids, like hair. I mean, like literally, you couldn't tie a knot with it. 832 is a little bit bigger. I don't know what the diameter is of it, but I throw it for largemouth. Like I'm gonna throw it at Okeechobee this year with a wacky worm around reeds. Like it's goat rope. I mean, if you ran out of rope getting pulled in, you could just wrap this 4 times and you'd be able to tow yourself back to the hill. It's called 6-pound, but it's probably like 20.
Okay.
But I
Very
just
nice.
come to like it. And it's what I throw on all of them now. Every reel I got's got 6-pound braid on it. Spinning reel.
High vis.
High vis. Yep. I throw blue. Aqua blue is my favorite. It just looks good. They was made for saltwater and it looks good. That one, or they came out with a pink one. I do like the pink one.
Yeah, I like the brighter colors because being colorblind, man, you get like a real crazy neon color compared to the water, and I like it a lot. So I can see
when you see that
yes.
see that line start swimming off, you're like, yeah, he's got it.
Crappie fishing with that high vis braid and a little leader, and you're just kind of sitting there working a marabou or something. That line will just crack off the surface. I like it. Yeah.
Is that why you got fired up when we were talking colors earlier? You didn't mention you were colorblind.
Yeah, when you
He's
say,
like, man, I've been throwing green pumpkin my whole life, man. That's black and blue.
That's it. You got matte, you got something that kind of looks natural when it's maybe cloudy. You got something shiny when it's sunny, and you got.
Yep.
I get it, because I'm there.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of guys just drive me absolutely up a wall when they start talking about, yeah, that's a good one, but it doesn't have this flake in it or this or that, and I'm going, oh my gosh, you're driving me nuts.
I've seen it before where if it's got too much flake, they won't bite it. I don't know why. I've actually the only time it was Smith Lake last year. My favorite color drop shot worm is a Zoom finesse worm in cotton candy, old school. But the largemouth loved that thing. But I threw that thing at 100 fish and could never catch them. And I had to go back to Morning Dawn, like straight pink with no flake, and they would eat it. I don't know if they've seen too much flake or whatnot. So, yeah, sometimes flake it'll get you.
I kind of got jacked up on Mountain Dew when you started talking about a floating worm too. You didn't elaborate too much on it, but
That thing catches them now. My
Yeah.
goodness. I mean, that is what bass fishing's about. I want to watch that bass eat my bait.
yes, that's when you get down and dirty about it. You talk about
I didn't know y'all threw a floating worm out that far out there.
Oh, I love it. That's probably my. I don't talk about it with a hell of a bunch of people, but that's my favorite thing to do is a floating worm or a frog, either one. But
You can't beat it. Y'all throwing methylate or y'all throwing like the bruised banana? Are we throwing bubble gum? There's a bunch of them. They're all good.
I personally, since I can see it really, really good, I throw methylate a lot.
Methylate,
Which
yep.
is that the orange one?
Yep, it's pretty orange. It's
Sort
like
of.
yeah, I don't even know what color you would call orange,
Hot orange, maybe.
red. Yeah, it's very vibrant.
And then when I went to Gunnersville, I threw white a little bit, and I caught fish on white. I don't know why, but I just had. But
Confidence, because you thought it was methylate, and you were.
Hey, methylate make them dilate, right?
Hey, it was a good
they
one.
bite it.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to this year on the what tournament? Which one? See
That's
if
a
it's
good question. We're gonna fish a lot of good places this year. I'm probably looking pretty forward to the Albemarle Sound in North Carolina for the elite. I've never been there. I don't know anything about it whatsoever. I grew up fishing tidal water. I grew up fishing the Cooper River and stuff like that. And I really like going to places that we don't have a bunch of history.
Mhm.
I don't like going. I love St. John's. I do. It's a great place. But we've been there just like 7 times now, 6 times. It's just you can beat a fishery up because I don't like doing the same thing twice. I don't like fishing history. I always want to find new fish. And every time we go to St. John's, I fish a completely different area of the river, do something different. Because the TV shows are so good nowadays. With live coverage, everybody knows where you're at, what you're throwing. They know the exact spot. So it's just, I don't like fishing for fish that have been fished for, if that I could think of. So going up there and fishing for new fish, nobody's got history. That just gets me excited, and it's going to be 3 foot and less probably. Like you said, floating worm, frogging, swim jig, catch them on the bed on an old wacky worm. I'll throw a wacky worm till tomorrow. I mean, I'm all about. I like reeling bass in.
Mhm.
So that's the one I'm probably looking forward to the most, just because it's different. And then for the NPFL, we're actually going to St. Lawrence River with no live scope, which I think it'll be fun. In early July, I think they're going to be spawning. I
Yep.
just like smallmouth. That old brown sugar. Once you get a taste of it, dang, it tastes good.
Are you? Is there any off limits? I mean, where are you going out
Can't
of?
receive any information.
You don't
Oh,
know.
are you talking about off limits for how far?
Yeah.
I hope none. They're usually like, if you can reach it, go ahead.
Where are they going out of?
We're going out of Messina. That's the only bad thing.
Mm.
But man, that St. Lawrence River's so good. If you drove a mile, you passed 20 pounds of smallmouth.
Yes.
100%. Like there's
Yep.
just that many. But I don't really like the St. Lawrence River that much. St. Lawrence River doesn't crack my top 25 of fisheries. Lake Ontario, top 3. That's God's country out there. That lake.
Oh.
Yeah, if I'm within 95 miles of there, I'm going. John's about to get taken out.
My chair back.
thinking about God's country over there.
I was
But,
excited.
Ontario just
on diet.
I love it.
Yeah.
There went your sponsorship. You got to buy a new chair.
Yeah.
He was sending me direct messages. I had him. We negotiated all the way up to $75 and 2 free night stays. So I thought I was doing good. So you're right. There goes the deal.
Since you brought it up, your top 25. What's your favorite place to in America to go?
I'm going to be a little biased on the first one. I'm going to say Santee Cooper, my home pond,
Mhm.
because it's so different. And I like it because it's like that crazy ex-girlfriend from high school. It's different every single time. You can never. I've never zeroed on a body of water besides Santee Cooper. It has got my number sometimes. I've gotten my teeth kicked in here more times, and I feel like I know this lake better than majority of people out there. I can tell you how many roots a stump has out there. I've spent a lot of time, but I don't care how good you know it. They're just fickle.
Mhm.
It's just a completely different fishery. There's so many catfish in there, and that's what I like about it. It's just I ain't got to figure it out. It's just it keeps you wanting more. Lake Ontario is up there. I love that place. I mean, I got a lot of history there. It's actually where my last one came from, so that really is something special. Because when I first went up there, I didn't know how to smallmouth fish.
Mhm.
I was terrible at it. So being able to kind of start from the bottom and get to there, that really helps. So I'd say Santee Cooper, Lake Ontario, and then and there's so many different ones. I really like the TVA. I like all the TVA. Uh, a new one. We went to Lake Baccarat this year for fun fishing in Mexico, and that was pretty fun. I caught my
Mhm.
best 5 fish that I ever caught, and it was just 150 fish days, no problem. So that's probably in the top 5. Stateside though, I'd probably say Fork. Fork's
Yeah.
good too, and it because what kills me about Fork, it's the most pressure you've ever seen. I mean, that's not a big lake, and
Mhm.
they'll have 1,000 boat tournament. I can't fathom 1,000 boats. I mean, I don't like fishing within sight of anybody. I don't want anybody in the creek. I'm old school like Tommy Biffle. I'm like, this is my creek. Like,
Hmm.
get out of here. But it still produces day in and day out. It just you'll just fish after. Like we'll go there and there just been one of those 1,000 boat tournaments. And you're like anywhere in the country, you're like there's no way we're going to catch a bass. There's no way.
Mhm.
And then you go there and it's like the biggest weights you've ever seen. So
Yeah.
just Texas parks, they truly do. That'd be a good guess for y'all to have on. It's just I wish a lot of our states would take what Texas parks does and just I'm telling you, I'd take 20% of what they do in the state of South Carolina. 20%.
Yeah.
And we'd have amazing fisheries.
Yeah.
They know what revenue bass fishing brings in. I mean, think about if they did it to Grand Lake. And
Yeah.
Lake Lodge would be slammed. I mean,
Yeah.
if it was just at home, they're stocking stripers and grass carp. I mean,
Mhm.
what is that doing for us?
Yeah. I
I know
agree.
that's another rabbit hole.
I agree. I mean, uh, the pressure. That's what's unbelievable about Fork
It is
and places like Gunnersville. I mean,
Gunnersville.
I
God,
live, I lived there, but I hated to go to Gunnersville
you
just
couldn't find a parking
because
spot.
you
You go to
you
5
go the
ramps.
middle of the week and you can't in the winter and you got the place is packed with
Mm-hmm.
people from Illinois and wherever. I mean, that's great. They're going to.
Y'all being from Kansas, I feel like you just singled those guys out.
I
Like you
did.
don't like those Illinoisans or something. You were like, yeah,
Absolutely.
them Illinois
The
guys. Like
Illinois guys.
They
we don't
got
like
big
them.
with gear. We're nervous about them when they
I
come.
know, like you literally just singled those guys out. I feel like you have somebody in mind, John. Who are you thinking
Maybe. But
about?
since you brought it up, you just mentioned your old buddy Tommy Biffle. So
Tommy's the man.
is that why you wear short shorts?
Hey, you gotta let him breathe. No, it's just I got long legs. I think's what it is. I met somebody the last weekend and they were like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were that tall." I mean, I'm not saying I'm tall. I'm like 6'2", I guess, but all shorts just fit short on you. I got long thighs.
I mean, look at that.
That's a very close comparison. Those were way closer than I thought they were gonna be.
Hey,
Those look good.
his rod ain't bent. Yours was, and I
Uh,
guarantee he's fripping. That's what we call it, fripping.
yeah.
He's fripping some grass.
I mean,
He's in the wheelhouse right there.
but I think all you young kids, you all wear those shorts now. I mean, you used to be like one of the only few, but now all the college kids wear them, right?
I, I think so. I haven't been keeping up with the college kids, but they if they want to catch bass, listen, if it's touching your knees,
It's not. You're
it's not
saying you saying that affects the fish biting?
it's just like your computer. If that thing gets hot, it's gonna start lagging. Them things gotta breathe. You as one system have to be efficient. You gotta stay comfortable. So keep them short. Keep them short.
I'm glad you're a good sport because I I mean, I'll confess, back in
I
the
mean, not too
day,
short now.
back
Then
in the
we'd have a
day of
problem.
Danny and I's day, there was a phase when it was the coaches' shorts.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm.
Lord.
Those were.
Oh,
Yeah, those were. I think Danny just had PTSD over there. He was like,
Oh, I wore
Yeah.
my
you said that he was just like
I wore
flashback.
my share of those coaches'
Oh.
shorts.
Hey, there's a happy meet in the middle.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Completely got sidetracked.
I just want to wear shorts. That's all I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah,
Get warm
that's
up.
when you're like, we'll take any length of shorts right now.
Yeah,
It was hot down here today. You could have. I almost did.
I wore
was
shorts
75.
yesterday. I wore
Did
shorts yesterday. Yeah,
That's good.
it was 75.
I want it to get warm, but at the same time, I don't live where y'all live. So it's like y'all have it cold. I like the cold weather though. I like being able to wear a jacket. Typically in South Carolina for Christmas, I mean, it's like you get all these winter clothes and you don't get to wear them for like a month. It's like 70 degrees. We actually had snow here 2 weeks ago. That was nice. I
How
actually got to
much
put a
snow
jacket
did you
on.
get? How much snow
We
did
got
you get?
We got 4 inches here at the house.
Yeah.
Some areas got 6 inches around us, but we had 4 inches, and it stayed for like 5 or 6 days, which was surprising. That's the longest it stayed on the ground for a while.
And you were the only person with a 4-wheel drive truck, so that you're the only person that drove, or what?
No, everybody kind of. I mean, it's down south. We don't get it, so everybody 4-wheel drive or not. I actually went duck hunting that next morning, and Dad and I had to break ice to get into the hole, and yeah, it wasn't that good. But
Did
hey,
you
we
do
had
it?
to try it.
I mean, did you do any donuts in the snow?
I didn't. I'm getting to the point now. I guess I'm getting older. I'm getting wiser. Where it's I like tearing. Listen, my middle name should be liability because I usually cause problems. But
Hey,
I'm all about cutting donuts, and I was like thinking about it, and now I'm like, dang, if I go out there and do a donut, I'm gonna tear my rear axle up or something. I'm gonna tear my transmission up. It's like I'm good at tearing stuff up. So I'm getting to the point now. It's like I don't want to be without a truck for a
you
week.
never get too old for that. My wife, when it snowed here, out by the fire pit, I was doing them. My wife was just
The
standing.
county sheriff's been looking for John. He's like, man, whoever
She
did
was-
that donut on the
Val-
county golf course, we've been looking for him.
Val was
John's
look-
been over there.
Yeah.
Ah, I
Val
love
was
it.
standing here just shaking her head.
Mm-mm-mm.
Kids,
You can't beat it.
no.
I was going to, but
Next
Gets
time
me
it
fired
snows, you got to do it.
oh, I'll do it.
I mean, did you build a snowman at least?
We tried. We built a small one. My neighbor built a good one, but it was actually my son's first snow. Which I mean, he's actually turning 1 next week, or actually this week on Friday. The 7th is his birthday, and it was his first snow, and so
I
it was
do.
first Christmas, first everything, I guess. And so we were really excited about that, and we were like, he's gonna love the snow. We'll build a snowman. He hated it. I mean, hated it.
Really?
I got photos. He was gonna make a snow angel, and I'm like holding his hands, and I'm doing it for him, and he's like crying. I mean, he's like, I don't know if it was because it was cold.
Huh.
He can walk now. He's walking.
Yep.
He's running in the house, and you'd set him in that snow, and he would freeze. Like he didn't know what to do, and then he'd just start crying, and you're like, ugh. He didn't like it that much. So
Yeah.
hopefully next year he'll like it. We'll build a bigger snow.
Yeah, next one will be better. Next one
That's
will
what
be
I'm
better.
looking for. That might be 5 years from now, though.
So what drives you every year? Do you have a goal? Do you have what's your number one goal for the season?
Catch bass, 100%. I used to be really big on setting goals, and I need to probably set some goals here. After we get off this call, I'll probably make it a mental note to do that for this season. But aggression. I mean, like just getting fired up. I mean, if you get mad at them, you can damn catch anything. I mean, you
Mhm.
got to have enough determination that you're going to do anything you can to go catch this bass, that you're going to put in the time. I'm going to do hours of research. I'm going to get on Google Earth. I'm going to go out there and fish hard, and not necessarily in the water, because you had to fish to what your body can allow. Like sometimes I fish 9 to 5. I don't get out there early, and I don't stay out there till dark sometimes unless I need to. You have to be mentally good with yourself there, but just when you want to be the best, I mean, you don't want to lose. I hate losing. So it's
Mhm.
you do whatever you're like, you gotta catch them. And that's why I don't hardly look back on my old tournaments because that just usually fires me up because I feel like I'm pretty good at finding bass. And most of the tournaments, it's like, well, you found the area they were in. Um, and it got one in, but you didn't think it was that good of an area, like you wrote it off. And I've done that more times than not. And now I'm telling you, that drives me
Mhm.
through the walls because it's like you found the fish, you just didn't make the right call. So it's just bass fishing is the mental side of it. And if you can conquer that mental side, it's surprisingly how many people you can beat. So
Yeah.
mainly just pure aggression. Just get
Yeah.
mad.
So you're fishing both, fishing the elites and the MPFL.
Yes, sir.
Uh, are they the same?
They're different. Um, I really like fishing both of them because the Bassmaster Elite Series is my bread and butter. I would not be here where I'm at today without the Bassmaster Elite Series. Big bass, big stage, big dreams. Um, that's where all my eggs are in that basket. That's where all my sponsors want me fishing. And I'm not making a gajillion dollars through sponsors. I'm making an okay living. No complaints. I make most of my money cashing checks. That's what I'm there to do. I don't like the social media side. I don't like getting on Instagram and all that stuff. I get on it, but I don't like doing it for my personal thing now because it's become how it's your job.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of gotten more mundane. I want to make a living cashing checks. I want to beat the guy next to me. I want to make a living with a rod and reel, and fishing 9 tournaments in a season's just not enough to do it. I'd fish more locally at home, but the thing is I don't like fishing a tournament unless I think I'm going to win. Or if
Hmm.
you always have to believe in yourself. And when you travel across the country and you come home and you only got there's a tournament that weekend and I hadn't fished, it's like, well, I don't want to waste my money if I don't think I'm going to win. And also, most local tournaments at home, the small tournaments, club tournaments, they don't, they have the pro rule, where if you paid an
Hmm.
entry fee or whatnot, you can't fish those tournaments. So most of them, I'm not going to say banned, but you're not allowed to
Not
fish
eligible.
due to the
Yep.
rules. You're not eligible.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I like fishing um, national tournaments where there's 3 days of practice, there's no information, there's an off limits, and it's fair for everybody. Because if it's a
Mhm.
fair playing field, I
Yeah.
think I like my odds. I do. Because I think I can show up on any lake in the country and in 3 days I'm gonna have a decent grip on it. And that's what I like. I don't want to fish the Toyotas or fish the Opens where, that guy's been on the lake for a month. That guy's going
Hmm.
to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
And so that takes my chances of winning out. But if it's no information, 3 days of practice, we travel and we fish. And so it's another 6 tournaments for me to fish. And then I'm fishing 15 tournaments nationally that hopefully you can make a decent living at that. So that's why I fish both of them. I fished the Opens and the Elites for a couple years there, and was doing okay with that. But it's just the Opens are getting better now, where
Mhm.
with money. But it was just, man, it's hard to make money fishing the Opens, and you're
Yeah.
fishing against 225 guys, and you have a co-angler. Nothing against co-anglers. I love co-anglers because they'll teach you a lot. No matter
Mhm.
who gets in your boat, like I said earlier, you can learn something from them. I can't tell you how many times a co-angler's keyed me in on a bite that I was fishing too fast or fishing too slow, and he was doing the opposite, and it just opens your eyes. So that's kind of why I've um, changed my direction towards the MPFL, just because it's just your boater, no co-anglers, 100 boat field on average. I think we're at 120 something this year. 6 tournaments. It's a good fit.
A lot of your colleagues from Bass are going to be fishing that this year.
There's a bunch of them. I was surprised by the numbers. Do you
Yeah.
do you know what the number is total?
I don't. I
I
did.
don't either, but this is the
I
most
mean,
this year.
it was a good number. Like,
For some reason, like 29 or 31 sticks out to me, but don't
Dang.
quote me on
No,
that.
it's up there. I knew it was like probably in the 20s. That's a lot. That's a lot of sticks.
yeah, yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I
And
think it's gonna be real good.
there's a lot of guys that last year didn't fish in the elites that went to the MPFL also. So I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah,
I think it's more relaxed. I kind of treat it as a vacation a little bit. Um, I don't have to go there and stress myself out. Do I have to perform? Because like I said, the elites is what all my sponsors are looking at. That's what they care about. So it's like you got to perform, you got to catch them. And then I go over there and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go fishing. Like it is what it is, you know. And then it's surprisingly how well you do.
I was
You
gonna
just
say,
catch
do
them
you
because
think
you're
does that?
relaxed.
Yeah, does that?
It makes a difference. I
Yeah.
promise you, because all three of y'all, your best days of fishing, your best days on the water, are your practice days. I guarantee it. When you're just
Mhm.
having fun, because you fish a bank, man, that bank was great. You know, that was really good. Like that was a bunch of fish we just caught on it. Let's go find another bank similar to this, and you're on the way to that bank, and you're like, well, that laydown looks good. Let's go fish that laydown. And you're like, oh well, let me fish this dock while I'm here. And then you're like, well, they're probably not biting topwater yet, but I'll try it. And then they're chewing topwater, and you're like, this is crazy. Like this is all you're fishing the moment. You're
Mhm.
fishing what looks good. You're fishing your natural instincts. And then in a tournament time comes, you're like, that bank was the best bank I had in practice. Let's go fish that bank. And then you stay on that bank all day long. And then you don't listen to the fish. Or you're like, well, we should go run more banks like this. And then you go run that other bank that you were going to go, and you miss everything in between. You have to fish in the moment. And so when I learned that just kind of relax and just fish easy, it's surprising. I mean, it's hard to do when you got money on the line, like in the elites. Well, in this year we don't have money on the line, but when you have an entry fee and you want to perform and you got angler of the year, you got points and stuff, that you get kind of stuck. But when you could just fish free and just go fishing and let the fish do the talking, like I said at the beginning, it's all relating back now.
Mhm.
That they'll tell you what they want. So just fish what looks good.
Absolutely. Do you think the mustache has anything to do with you catching fish?
I don't know what it is. It used to be. I mean, it used to be the smallmouth stash. That's what it was. Uh, I started the stash. Shout out to Seth Fighter. That dude was a bad dude. Seth had the best looking mustache out there, and I love Seth. He. I want to call him a friend. He's probably like that dude's weird, but I look up to him. I mean, it's like so. I was like, I'm gonna try the stash. And the first year I did it, I was like started catching bass. So I was like, here we go. It's like we're finally understanding some smallmouth stuff like that, and it slowly progressed to last year. I was like, I'm only grew up for largemouth. I had a bad year last year. I felt like because it was more up and down than I wanted. It wasn't just like consistent. Um, I had some tournaments. I had two of my worst Florida tournaments ever, and it's just I found the fish, made a bad call. It's all mental. But I was like, you know what? I'm growing the stash back out. And the next tournament that I grew it out, I won. It was at Lake Murray last year. So it's a mental thing. And so it's just if it gets you in the right headspace, it doesn't matter what it is. If it helps, it helps.
Yep. Well, I wish I could grow a stash like that. Maybe it would help me.
Well, I wanted a beard. I can't grow a beard at all, John. So we settled with the stash.
What about you, Kyle?
My wife would kick me out of the house if I tried just that. Emily would absolutely boot me to the shop permanently. So talks with her hands.
She talks with her hands. She's Italian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, phenomenal.
Hey.
Hey.
Uh, well, Danny, I
It's
know you
time.
chomp. It's time.
I can tell it's time.
Yep.
Mr. Walters, what's the craziest thing, the most unexplainable thing you've ever seen on your screen?
On my screen. Unexplainable. That's I, I don't know. I think I saw Champ last year at Champlain maybe.
Yes.
Took the
Okay.
whole screen off. Danny, I know you like aliens. I saw that intro. So
Mhm. That's why he's asking this question.
that's what I don't have one thing. The craziest thing I've ever seen in real life though is we used to have the thing the before they started developing the roads down here in South Carolina. They called it was a headless horseman, but it was a light down a dirt road. It was a natural gas. We don't know what it was. Nobody ever found out what it was. And you go down this dirt road at night, and it would just appear down there. It looked like a headlight. Like it was a light. I'm telling you, I've seen it with my eyes, guaranteed. And you would drive to it, and the closer you drive to it, it would just get brighter and brighter and brighter, and you would just get driving to it, and you get close up, it would disappear. It was gone, and you just drive right through it, and it was. It's a thing. You can look it up. And I'm telling you right now, my dad, first time he took it, it was me and my two sisters. It was Halloween. He took us just playing with it, and it's on Sheep Island Road. I'm telling you, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Sheep
Because I mean,
Island
it's
Road.
Sheep Island Road. It's in South Carolina in Somerville. I had to look it up. It was real. I've seen it. It looks like a headlight. I'm as bright as you could see, and then you would just drive in. It would get brighter and brighter, and then you would just look like you were about to hit it, and then it would disappear. Gone. Nothing there. And I'm telling you right now, I still think about it, and I'm like, what the hell was that? I don't know.
What are they?
You can't describe it.
Is there theories? On
They had
what people think
they
it is?
brought scientists and stuff down there. They thought it was like natural gas or something. They did not know what it was. They could not prove it.
Are people still seeing it to this
No,
day?
because they started developing that whole area. It was undeveloped. It was the woods. It was just a natural dirt road. They paved around there. They built some neighborhoods and stuff. I wouldn't live there. I can tell you right now, I wouldn't live up. I wouldn't live 10 miles from that road. But we got so many out of towners and out of staters coming in that they don't know any better. But I don't know if you can still see it. I haven't been down there in 10 years probably.
Hmm.
Excuse me.
Very
Oh,
good.
awesome
Interesting.
story.
It's different. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But on my screen, I probably Champy swimming by.
Champy swimming by. Okay.
The
Well, that makes the list.
That does make the list. Why do you
That's-
think it was Champ?
took the whole screen up. And Champy's out there somewhere.
You were just
Just-
scoping along, and then all of a sudden your screen went like
Just- Whether it
covered
was the hillside or whether it was a giant ball of bait or submarine, something was out there. It exists.
interesting.
Hmm.
Is Champlain like super deep?
It is in some places. Yeah, it's like 200 something plus feet, or maybe 300 actually. It's got some water to it.
I mean, because you brought that up for a reason. It wasn't like, I mean, let's think about this, guys.
Well, because it's like I only run my scope like when I'm up there at like 40 feet, 45 feet. And I mean, you'll be over 300 feet, 200 feet, 100 foot sometimes. It's mostly probably like 100 in the inland sea. Here it is. See how much depth we got. 180, 230, 155, 230, 205. It's got a lot of
plenty.
255, 255, 305, 330. That's deeper than I could swim.
Yeah, that's pretty deep.
Oh, yeah, that's it. 355, yeah. 380, 405. There we go. Got to 400.
400 feet deep.
Yeah, there's something swimming around that you.
Yeah, 400. I mean, that's like the ocean. I don't know if y'all ever think about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
unexplored.
that's deep. Ask him your other question, Danny.
Are you an Airbnb guy? Do you camp? Are you a motel guy?
Not a motel guy.
Okay.
I used to camp. I camped for like the first 4 years on the Elite Series. I had a truck camper, fit on the truck, and I love camping. Big advocate of that. I like doing that. It's your bed, it's your meals every night. It's your home. You're controlling the variables. So I really do like camping. I'm gonna go back to it eventually. For the last 2 seasons, I've been Airbnb-ing. I think that's your second best option because I've traveled with Justin Hamner. That's my travel partner. On the Elites, on the MPFL, I travel with Drew Cook, Trent Palmer, which Trent's not fishing with us, but it was Trent Palmer, Mike Corbishley, and Justin Kimmel last year. It made it easier because it was like I'd have a lot of back-to-backs, and I would be rooming with those guys. It was easier to stay at a house this week and then pick my extension cord up, and after the tournament, I could go to the next house. Instead of, after a tournament gets done, I'd have to go back, hook the camper up, dump my sewer tank, clean everything up, pull the slides in, buckle everything down, and then go. And then when I get there, it's like, well, they're staying at a house anyways because it's 4 or 5 of us. Then I'd have to drop the camper in the yard. And so that's why I've went away from camping. So we're doing the Airbnbs and stuff like that. And places like Lake Lodge, we do like the lodges and stuff like that we really like, which is very similar to Airbnbs. I don't like hotels, which I don't consider Lake Lodge anywhere like that remotely near it. That's completely different. Just because you can't see your boat. half the time you don't have charging. So it's just
Mhm.
like, that's why I don't like that. But places like Lake Lodge, houses, you're usually in a good neighborhood. You got
Mhm.
parking. But I will go back to camping eventually. Probably when I slow down a little bit more.
Yep.
I hear you. I'm the same way all the way around.
Yep.
Well, when you are traveling, you're going down the interstate and you see a sign. Oh man, I have to stop there. Or if you have a favorite place, you look at the schedule and you go, oh, cool, we get to go back to this place. What place is that? A restaurant or whatever.
Danny, I don't know if you've got Buc-ee's over there, but it's pretty hard to drive by one of those because I don't know if you've got to use the bathroom on the road ever, which we all do. They have the nicest bathrooms I've ever seen. Listen, if your wife goes in there and she's like, "That's a clean bathroom," they're doing a-okay. Like
Mhm.
the kids, it's family friendly. I mean, who doesn't love the beaver? I mean, the briskets in there is great. The beaver nuggets. I mean, good quality gas station. Gas is cheap, so I don't ever really pass a Buc-ee's if I can help it. But my favorite thing to do is when we're traveling is when we go up north, like to New York. Every small town has got a mom and pop diner and an ice cream store and a
Ice
little
cream.
stand. Every single town. I love that.
They do.
I love mom and pop diners. That's why I love off days. I'm a big advocate for those because I want a day to relax and enjoy the town. And I think it makes sense for all of us. We get to go to a tackle store, spend our money, uh, go help the local restaurants and stuff like that. So it's like go to a
Sure.
local diner and get ice cream as much as you can when you're up north.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. You
Yep.
have quickly risen to the top of Kyle Kister's favorite
Yeah.
guest because one, you made jerkbait colors easy for him because he can't see color, and two, you talked about his favorite place in the world, which is Buc-ee's.
Who doesn't love Buc-ee's? I
Do
mean,
you have a? There's only one person that's been on the show that is probably the uh, biggest Bucky's fan we've ever met,
Oh
probably.
yeah,
And he's
that was
got a whole routine.
oh wow, that's
Like he
intense.
goes into Bucky's and goes over here and buys this and goes over here and buys this, and then he goes over here and buys this and that. And he never leaves there without spending like $300. He said,
and
God,
he's walking
60 is like
the door,
very
and
easy
he's
though. They
telling us,
are expensive.
okay, yeah, now if you go now, okay, you've picked this up, now go about 8 feet to the left and there's this, and then you turn and go down this aisle,
yeah,
and
he tells
this.
us where it is.
My main run through there is quick walk to the bathroom. Kind of scope things out, see what's going on, see what's hot. Fresh brisket on the table. You got to check it just in case. So walk to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, do whatever you got to do, come back out, hang a Ringo, fix you a cola. You got to grab a tall boy. So I'm grabbing the soda straight to the brisket. We got to go we're going straight to the meat, right at it. So we go to the meat, grab me a brisket sandwich, then I hang a left, I grab me a thing of pecans, start heading to the cashier, grab me a bag of beaver nuggets, cashier, and we're out. That's it. So it's kind of like a quick little, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's my little
There you
swing.
go.
If I'm splurging, lately I've been trying to, it's the holiday season. I've been trying to lose those lbs, so
Mm-hmm.
been trying to just get a bottle of water and still a brisket sandwich. Been cutting the candy pecans out in the nuggets. The problem is if you open that bag of beaver nuggets, I don't care what the time of day is. I don't care what location you're at. You could be in a boat. You could be literally watching. You could be at a funeral, and you're like, shh. But you're like, I'm gonna eat this entire bag of beaver nuggets. Like if you open that bag, everybody's like, what? But listen, just try one. You will eat the rest of this bag.
Mhm.
So, not a place to eat at sad times.
There's
I'm not
something
speaking from experience, but I can imagine.
caramel, buttery, popcorny, crunchy, just goodness in your mouth, just
Gold.
tearing it up.
You just can't stop. I mean, it's
So you've probably been to more Bucky's than all of us put together. And I'm just curious because I drink Pepsi. I'm a Pepsi guy. I'm Pepsi Zero is
I'm just
what I
glad you didn't
drink.
say pop.
Well, I do, but I say pop, but Pepsi is I'm not a Coke guy. And Buc-ee's has no Pepsi in it. At least
Ha-
all the ones I've been in have no Pepsi.
I could see that.
I've been in the one in Alabama by Leeds.
Yep, that's a good one.
When it first opened, had it on the fountain, had Pepsi on the fountain, but nothing in the cooler. No, nothing in the cooler. But I've been in 2 or 3 Buc-ee's since. When we went to Dallas, we stopped at one, and they didn't even have it on the fountain. So I'm just curious, is that a regional thing, or of all the Buc-ee's, have you noticed if they don't have Pepsi?
I'm assuming it probably just what the distributor they're using. I actually drink their cola, the Buc-ee's cola sometimes. Like I'll drink Coke or their cola. But they probably have one that's probably similar to Pepsi. They make a bunch of their own flavors, like their own root beer, their own cola. So it's like next time you go in there, I mean, just pour a little sip in there and try some of their own ones. I guarantee you they have one that's probably similar to Pepsi if they don't have Pepsi.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of. I haven't seen anything they've done bad yet. I tried one of their in the frozen section. Their chicken stuffed with like crawfish etouffee, or it was like crawfish and rice or something. I don't know what it was, but it was like why would they have that at a Buc-ee's? Why would they have that at a gas station? But it's not a gas station. It's an experience.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
That is
crazy.
true.
Yeah, you just walk in there and you're just like, God. I mean, you go in there and people watch. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna look at next. Like you just like what food you're gonna look at. I mean, look at the beef jerky wall. Like there's I've never clicked on the menu screen at those computers yet. Have you, Kyle? Have you ordered anything off the menu?
I've been in there like a half a dozen times, and I am still shocked every time I go in there at what else
Every
I
time. Yeah, every time you're just like, I've
There's-
never clicked on the computer screen yet, so I don't even know what's on the menu.
So when I tell you this person that has the routine, you're gonna nod and probably say, "Ah, yes, I understand."
Before that, the one thing that me and this person have in common is every time I've been in a Buc-ee's, I have to get the same. And when he brought it up, we were talking to him. I was like, oh my God, I've got like 3 jars of this stuff in the refrigerator.
Oh gosh, not the quail eggs.
No.
Okay, I was like, okay.
Well, I'm not that disgusting.
It's like the
Okay, that's what I
jalapeno.
It's like a cream cheese glaze.
Okay,
It's really, really good, but they sell it at Buc-ee's, obviously.
I
But
had to look at this. I hadn't even found that section
What's
yet.
it called?
Terrapin something. But it's like that's the brand, but it's like this. It's like a honey. They have all these different flavors. I buy the jalapeno jelly a lot, and I put it over cream cheese and eat it with crackers and stuff.
Okay.
I mean,
Is it like by the drinks in the cold section, or is it like in the
it's like by
island in the middle?
seasonings. It's like all like
seasonings?
this.
Okay, so it's warm.
Yeah,
It's in between
okay.
it's in between the coolers and the checkouts.
yeah.
Like if you're walking to the coolers, you go past it.
Okay,
Like-
I had to look at that. I've never seen that.
Coffee mugs and all that crap. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like around all the barbecue sauces and all that stuff.
Because I'm
It's,
like,
Anyway.
it's sensory overload when you walk.
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
this guy that at the top of the list. There's one other guy. I'll tell you who that is here in a second. Matt Pangrak.
Really? He's a big Buc-ee's guy?
Oh,
That does
my
actually
God.
make sense. That's hilarious.
Dude, he
Oh,
went
God.
for 20 minutes.
yeah,
20 minutes.
He like
went 20
murdered that.
minutes.
20 minutes. We just sat back and he told us his whole routine.
That's hilarious.
Completely.
You
nerded
can
out.
get lost in there. I mean, if you went in there to look at everything in there, it would take you longer than that. So you probably got out of there in good time.
And now I'm just thinking of this. The next guy that I think loves Buc-ee's more than anybody on the face of the earth is also named Matt, and I just realized it. Matt Shell. You
Okay.
I don't know
Matt.
He's the big tall guy, the huge guy that Neil Paul is always with.
Okay. I have
Anderson.
met Matt. Yep.
Yes. And he runs the park. He runs
Okay.
Matt
I have met.
Shell
He's a big
is
dude,
a
actually.
huge
he is a big dude.
Bucky's fan, and he's a huge Bucky's fan. Like, he will drive 30 miles out of the way to go to Bucky's.
Yeah. I ain't got there yet. It's still
Yeah.
got to be on the way. I'm all
Yeah.
about convenience.
Like, if I stop at a Bucky's, I send Matt a picture, and he'll just go berserk that I'm at a Bucky's. Like, him and
Where-
his wife spend hours. Like, they'll stop at a Bucky's and stay for 2 hours.
God, he must have a Tesla. Must be charging that thing. That's the only time I could justify it.
Yeah. I remember when the Classic was at Fort Worth, and or not Fort Worth, Ray Roberts. Yeah, Fort
Yeah,
Worth.
Fort Worth. Yep. Yes, sir.
And they had to go by the Bucky's, and Neil Paul was livid because Matt had to stop at Bucky's every day,
Every day?
and stay for like an hour
Not every day.
every
You
day.
are joking.
No.
I'd have to get on Matt's butt, dude. I'd be like, all right, come on now.
Next time you're in Anderson, you ask
I
him
will.
what he thinks about Bucky's. Yes.
What a place.
It's crazy.
Mm.
Well,
Guys, I
Patrick,
enjoyed it. Thank
I
you all
mean,
for
we've
having
had
me.
you told you we'd go through almost 2 hours pretty quick.
You called it.
Yeah. It's good having you. I do have you, I believe, on my fantasy team. Do I need to take you off or leave you on?
That's up to you. It's a tough call. I ain't going to
Because-
promise you I'm going to catch them. I promise you I'm going to try. But that don't mean I'm going to reel them in.
Your last time we were at St. John's,
Yep.
that time of year, you did well.
I've never not top 10 at St. John's in February.
Yeah.
I've top 10 every time except last year in May when I was like, I got bored. I didn't want to go fish my normal stuff. I don't know why. I'm telling you, it's just like you get complacent and you're like, let's just go do something wild. I ran all the way north to Jacksonville, tried to do something different. Found them though. Found them on the bed. Yeah, I've had 25 pounds of fish. It was really good. And then tide was bad. Fish moved. Didn't catch them. That's fishing. Made a bad call, went the wrong direction. Didn't even make the cut. Didn't get a check. There's the only time I have not done well there. But that's St. John's. I'm not saying I'm gonna catch them, but we will be trying.
Well, I've got you on my team, and I don't plan on taking you off. So
Thank you, John. Hopefully I don't let you down.
we're going to pretty much everybody that's been on the show has promised that they'll come on our show first after they win the next Elite or NPFL tournament.
John, if you call me, I'll be there. So that's on you.
All right.
If you call me, I'll show up.
I'll call you. Not
Patrick,
Mercer. Not Mercer.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed it. It's good to talk a little fishing, Get you fired back up.
Yeah.
Get after him, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
gonna
be
try.
rooting. We'll be rooting for you.
Heck yeah. Well,
Very
guys,
much, Pat.
thank y'all for having me. Enjoyed it.
Yep.
And hopefully I'll see y'all soon.
All
Good
right,
luck.
good luck.
Fish, man.
Thank y'all.
Awesome. Before we pat ourselves on the back for that awesome guest, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Crank, the producer over there, for his
Yeah,
producing.
Oh,
good job.
thank you.
Nicely done. Cool dude, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I knew he'd be a good guest. He's very he's very wise in his young age about how to talk online, and very savvy about plugging in sponsors and stuff without really without sounding like
Recording.
he's reading it off of paper.
Hmm.
I mean, even throwing the Lake Lodge in there a few times,
Yeah, he's definitely a business savvy kind of kid.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. No, it was good. I knew he'd be good. Brandon Ackerson's asking if anybody's fishing the BFL.
Brandon, I was all in. I was all in until they put it the day before the Super Bowl. And I was out. And you can't throw anything except for an Alabama rig, so you guys don't want to know my real opinion. I'm just going to keep it at that.
Jerkbait. Jerkbait.
I'm upset. I'm still upset, and I don't really want to talk about it, so I'm not fishing it this year. It is supposed to be a nice day, though. I think it's going to be in the 60s. So, if you are fishing, I'm sure you are. Good luck, man. I'm rooting for you.
I'm not fishing unless I happen to go out in the next couple of days and figure out how to catch a fish.
I would like to have gotten down there before the tournament and done some practice, and it's just, man, it's been so cold, and I've had trouble getting motivated to get out and actually get competitive with it a little bit. I couldn't get my butt in gear yet, so here I am.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
It's early. It's super early.
yeah.
I did some bank fishing over the weekend with Max. We went crappie fishing from the bank Sunday. You know, just took advantage of some nice weather, and it was enjoyable. So he was. I don't know if anybody's still listening or not, but he was complaining about not being able to cast very well. You know, so shame on me for not supplying him with the best tackle in the whole world. But, you know, he's got a 6-foot rod and a Zebco reel and 6-pound line. And, you know, he's probably casting 50 foot with a crappie jig and a bobber, weighted bobber. I kind of felt like that was pretty decent.
That's pretty good.
That's not good enough for him.
So you know what happens?
So yeah, I said, all right, son. So, you know, I said, to be honest with you, if you don't think that's a decent enough rod and reel, I said, throw it in the creek. Because I had heard it over and over again. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I said, you know what? If you think it's a piece of junk, throw it in the creek. And I had it in my head. I was like, if my son throws it in the creek, I'm taking him straight to Bass Pro, and we're buying a brand new one, because he just did exactly what I told him to do. You know, he's like, well, why would I do that? You know, this is my first good rod and reel. I caught my first.
Oh, so now it's good, huh?
Oh, wow! All of a sudden, it just, you know, so
that's hilarious.
He set it down, and he proceeded to tell me that he thought he needed to use mine. And, you know, we got the job done with it, but I've since then thought about it, and I thought maybe it's time we graduate from the Zebco to maybe something a little more different. So if somebody's got an idea for a 6-year-old,
I put him in a bait caster. Hey, when they get to the point, take it from the oldest guy in the room right now.
In this room.
When they will tell you when they're ready. Like, don't try to. I've learned from experience, I'm wasting my money, because I did this with Brett and Bree, and then I didn't do it with Amelia. And, you know, I bought Amelia's first ride was a Snoopy pole. And when I could see her getting frustrated because it would only go 10 feet, then we graduated to a Zebco, like a 33, not like this cheap 202, but like a Zebco 33. And last summer, when I could tell she was getting frustrated that she couldn't cast as far as I could cast, and it wasn't working the bait like she wanted it to work, then I'm like, okay, it's time for us to learn how to throw a bait caster. And I just took the time and explained to her that it's not going to go out very far because I got everything tightened down. But as you get more comfortable, we're going to loosen it up. And now that's all she's throwing is bait casters.
You know, I've seen some of those maybe more modern style Zebcos that you can push the thumb down. It's hard to explain. It's almost like a spinning reel style that will
Yes.
cast, because he's all about crappie fishing right now, and smaller stuff that he can bring home. And
So I bought Amelia. Actually, I bought Brooks. Yeah, I bought Brooks. Probably the highest end spinning cast combo that you can buy. And it, like, adults use it, like a crappie fishing, and it's a maybe I'll see if I can find it. But it was like $100. It wasn't cheap. It was a rod and reel combo, but it was a spin cast, and it was way smoother than the old Zebco, and it worked, and he loves it, and he can throw it a mile. But it's a push button.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
think
I might get them from my son too.
You just got to spend a little bit more money. I got it off Tackle Warehouse.
I think that's what I'm going to check out, is a spin cast style that still is like a push button for him, so he can, because he really likes crappie fishing. Obviously this spring when it comes time to throw a spinner bait and swim jig and stuff like that, it's probably time to break out the bait caster. And I've got a couple of smaller ones that don't have as big a spool on them that he can maybe thumb, and try to start learning.
a Zebco Bullet spin cast combo. It's $150, but it's a quality spin cast combo. Like, it's very smooth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it right here.
Yeah.
Well, I know he's about had enough of, oh, look at Dad's rods and reels, and I've got, his words, this piece of crap.
I would.
If it's a piece of crap, you guys should have been there. I said, if it's a piece of crap, throw it in the creek. I'm telling you right now, throw it in the creek. I've done it before. I'm not ashamed. I had a temper. I still do. And if you truly think it's that big a piece of crap, I said, throw it in the creek, bub. And we'll just move on. It is what it is. I was sitting there crossing my fingers on that bucket. I thought, if he throws it in the creek, this could be great.
Honestly, I honestly think if it was me, I would probably just pick out one of your cheaper ones that you don't use anymore, hardly at all, and start teaching them how to throw that bait caster.
Yep.
Just get some practice weights or something. And remember, that's what my dad did when I first started throwing one. He's like, I'm going to put a bucket out here and you just practice casting at the bucket. However you want to cast, do it. Figure out how to use it. I'd sit out there for hours trying to figure it out. And I finally got it.
I almost came home and took the tarp off the pool just so that way we could start flipping in the deep end, but Emily didn't think
if he's conscious enough to realize that the fishing rod he's throwing is a piece of crap, then he knows, then it's time for him to graduate.
Yep. So we're moving on, onward and upward.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, also, if you pass one down to him, you get to buy one to replace it.
True.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and as
Yeah.
Fitzwater, he may not be listening right now, but as he knows, over the weekend on my way back from the bass club meeting, I bought 2 off of him. So
Yeah,
Mm.
very cool.
What else is going on? We kind of skipped over there is a BFL going on this weekend. First tournament of the year. The weekend winter series jackpot had their last event of the winter Saturday. And they're still catching them. Little John's won it, 25 pounds. But the next 2 or 3 were 18, 18, 16. So they're still catching them pretty good, I think. We don't have anything else, I don't think.
it's going to be a minute. We got an ABA coming up on the 22nd, John.
March 22nd.
February 22nd.
February 22nd. Yeah. I hope it warms up a little bit for that one. Yeah, there's an ABA. There may be an ABA on the Grand Lake division starting here shortly. For those of you interested, listening, except it's going to be midweek ABA division on Grand Lake. I think the first one will be in March, I think. And then one a month from then on. More to come on that.
Okay.
It's going to be on a Wednesday, Brandon, not on weekend. There shouldn't be any fishing conflicts with that.
Unless you're working. That's a
That's what I said. That's why I said
Yeah.
fishing conflicts.
It's always getting in the way of fishing, isn't it?
well, work gets in the way of fishing a lot, but
Yeah.
it if the weather's right and we're catching them at Grand, work may not get in the way of fishing.
That's true.
I just take off on a random Wednesday and there I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
I believe there is a restriction, but I think it's pretty high level restriction, isn't it? ABA?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's not.
If Brandon, are you fishing the opens?
He is.
He'd probably better look into the rules because I think it's a entry fee over 600.
Really? I didn't think it was that low.
So
Let me.
I know they don't.
Know?
I know they don't. Yeah, I know they don't allow guides, and I'm trying to remember Becky's briefings in the mornings, but I think it might be over 600. So, but it just takes somebody to protest you. So if they're scared to fish against you, then they'll protest you. If they don't, you can fish. In my opinion.
And let me see if I can find it right quick. Talk amongst yourselves.
That's the way I see it. I don't know. I don't really understand why they would do that. But whatever. Something else that Danny, we had a good club meeting. It was kind of a hard hill to climb. I'm glad John was there because it's hard to explain to everybody if you're going to fish the state team championship, Bass Nation state championship, whatever you guys want to call it. You got to add bass to your insurance. And you have to take a boater safety course.
No,
There is no such
are
thing
not-
as grandfathered in.
we are not requiring that at the state level.
To fish
Right.
the regional we're talking about.
Right. When you move on,
And when you move on, sure.
you have to have a boater safety course.
Right.
Okay, so these guys were absolutely in full-on panic mode. How do I add bass to my insurance? And oh my goodness, I can't spend 5 hours between now and next
year-
year
A year and a half from now.
to take a boater safety course.
I get it. I understand. Oh, people.
So, number one, call your insurance and tell them you want to add bass.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, start it now and, muddle through it. You can stop at any time
Sure.
and you can restart and it'll be okay. And one of these days you'll get through it. And then if you do, you don't have to take it again.
Right. It's only a one-time thing. So it's not like you have to redo it every year.
And no, you're not grandfathered in. There's no
And
such
really,
grandfathered.
if you think about it, it's kind of, I guess to me, it's not that big a deal because after having done it, then I kind of thought, why haven't we done this before? Why is it before now? And realizing that it's, it's an insurance deal, probably requested by the insurance provider, but it's not that big a deal, honestly. And then I found out in the process of taking the test that anybody born after 1988 in the state of Kansas has to do it to operate a boat.
Right. And then even more so than that, if you were to read the rules in Missouri, it's later than that. I think it's like anybody born after 85 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting more and more common anyway. And it's probably coming to all states, but there are states that are requiring it. Like New York is requiring it. If you're going to New York to fish an open or whatever, or a regional, New York requires it of everybody. Whether you're 90 and you've been boating for 90 years or you're 15 or 12, you got to take it.
So just so you're in the end, DB, the way I addressed it to my bass club was if you're going to fish boater, and you're going to fish anything bass, you need to do it. And I just left it at that. It's easier said that way for me. It's that's the way I address the club.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy. It is time consuming depending on which one you take. Brandon said you can fast forward through. The one I took was Boat US, and I took the Oklahoma, and you watch like you page through a quiz or a little booklet thing, and then you take like a 10-question quiz over the 10 pages you just looked at. And if you miss more than two, you got to go back and reread those. I mean, you can flip through them pretty quick, but you can reread them. And then you take the quiz, and once you get 9 out of 10 right, you move forward. And then at the end, you have like a 20 question or maybe a 40 question test. And as long as you don't miss more than 20% or something like that, you pass. Brandon said he took his in 2.5 hours. It took me a little longer than that. It was 3, maybe 4 hours, but I went through it pretty slow, and I got interrupted several times, and but maybe 4. And frankly, if there's a question you get to on the test that you don't really recognize, I just Googled it. The exact question, copied and pasted it, Googled it, and the answer came up, and I checked the box, so it's really pretty easy to do.
Yep.
Pretty easy test to take. But it's good. It's interesting to know all that stuff. And I learned a few things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and every state is a little bit different, might have a law or two different than, Kansas may have a law or two different than Oklahoma has. I don't know. But I did find to answer Brandon's earlier question about the restrictions on ABA. It is if you fished a pro-am style tournament with an entry fee of $675 or more, you can't fish it.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're fishing the opens, you're not allowed. Or if you fished anything that with an entry fee that big, that's a pro-am. Not allowed. But yeah, the meeting went pretty good though, I thought, and more people joined than. I think we have 8 or 9 fully paid members.
Awesome.
Bass Nation dues and state. I do need to know who to send the state dues to. How do you do that? Write a check and send it to who?
You can write a check or you can do it through PayPal, whichever you want to do.
Just do it on the Kansas page.
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
Matt Ganoth, if you're listening, I will send you John's info so you can mail that $60 to him.
Well, he's already a member of Sandhills.
Paid member.
Yes.
So he just needs to pay the $20 Cherryville dues.
Which answers my question. That's what I was going to ask you. Because I've already,
$40. I'm sorry. We raised it Saturday.
It's what now?
40.
Okay. Cool. So which one or both of you are coming to the KBN meeting at RMP?
I'm going to try to come.
Cool.
I think.
Awesome.
When is it? The 15th?
The 15th. We'll start at 10:30 at RMP for the general business meeting. And I think we're having Two Brothers Barbecue.
Yeah, I think we'll try to come. Maybe we can meet somewhere, Kyle, and ride together.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way there. I don't know.
I'll try to, truthfully, you should just come to my house, John. Honestly. Just drive straight north.
It's not really straight north.
It might be easier for you. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Okay. Or maybe Moody's.
Yeah.
Go by Moody's?
Yeah.
Maybe Moody's. Maybe leave my vehicle at Moody's or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's a little more straight north, I think. All right.
And now we've hit the awkward silence.
There it is.
So who's on the show next week?
Gene Gilliland.
Oh,
Sweet.
there we go.
Going to be back on the show and just in front of the beginning of the Elite Series season. So that'll be good. Just kicking that off and we can talk early season fishing.
Fuzzy dice.
Fuzzy dice and octopuses.
Fuzzy dice, octopuses,
Freshwater
Octopi.
jellyfish.
octopi. I mean,
Whatever.
is everybody playing fantasy fishing? Maybe we ought to have an Idle Zone fantasy fishing.
And give out our picks every time before the tournament.
You guys don't want any part of this. I was in the top 10% 2 years ago, and was driving to work the last Elite Series on a Thursday morning, and went, I forgot to put my picks in.
Oh.
Yeah, but this will keep us. If we talk about it every show before the tournament, that'll keep everybody from missing.
Yeah, but
we can just put our picks in right then.
I am not kidding you guys. It was the last Elite Series of the season, top 10%, and I mean I was killing it. And Thursday morning I was driving to work and I went, oh crap! I was so upset. Keyword Greg Hackney. A couple years ago, he was like on a fire roll. So, anyways,
Yeah, Brandon, if you're still on, that what Mark said just above you, that may change things. It does say 2 or more tournaments as a professional in the preceding 2 months. That might change things if you don't have 2 opens before the preceding 2 months before the preceding tournament. You might be able to fish as an opens angler.
he should be able to fish. I mean, I think it's just craziness.
It is. It is.
DB,
Yeah.
say them magic words, buddy.
The magic words.
Yes.
Folks, thanks for watching. As always, we've had a blast tonight. Some shows they just flow better than others. Good time on the tailgate this evening with Patrick Walters, and we're going to hold him to that promise to come back, and as long as John calls him. So, as always, thanks for watching. Take us home, Cranker.